Are you waiting for someone to save you, to tell you what you should do with your life, to give you that job? Then I think you're going to be waiting a long time. In this video, I want to talk about how you can bet on yourself and take ownership of your life and how I'm trying to do the same thing. So there's this video that came out, I don't know, maybe a year ago or so with Matt Damon. And in the interview, he was talking about how when he was younger and just starting off in his career, he had auditioned for Dead Poet Society with Ben Affleck, and I guess they got some callbacks and everything, and in the end didn't get it. So they ended up having to go back to their summer job or whatever they had, working at a movie theater near Boston. And this theater, I guess, was old and only played one movie the whole summer, and that just happened to be Dead Poet Society. So it was really salt in the wound for them that they had gotten really far in the audition process. And in the end, they were working at the movie theater where the movie was playing. And he was saying how people came out of the theater and were crying and so touched. And it just burned to know that they were really close to getting a role in such a pivotal and amazing movie. And then the movie Primal Fear came out. And he had gotten wind of it, and he knew it was going to be a career breakthrough for whatever actor had gotten the role. And it just happened to be Edward Norton. And again, that movie was amazing, and his role was phenomenal and pretty much had launched Edward Norton's career. And that gave him the motivation to write Good Will Hunting. And that was the impetus to writing that screenplay, because he was saying that he was tired of waiting for opportunities to come to him, because a movie like Primal Fear, you know, it had to go through the ranks of top tier actors first, and then it filtered down through the ranks of actors. So if you were basically a no-name, the odds of you getting a prime role like that were slim to none. So he wanted to create his own opportunity, and he and Ben wrote the screenplay for Good Will Hunting, which clearly launched their career, and they won original screenplay, and they won the Oscar that year for that role, and basically launched both of their careers. And I love watching that clip because it reminds me that you are the only person who is going to really save yourself. You have 100% ownership of your life, and I want to talk a little bit more about that and how I'm going to try to use that in my own career. So I've been taking a lot of marketing courses this summer, and the pivotal thing behind marketing is that you want to create brand awareness, create engagement, and ultimately have that lead to sales. And it got me thinking about yourself and how really you should be your number one client first and foremost. You need to create a strong sense of self and foundation, a strong identity, if you will, in the same way that brands and businesses have certain colors they use, certain fonts they use, logos, that sort of thing. So in essence, you need the same thing for yourself. This has been a really tough job market for a lot of people, myself included. I kind of put my freelance focus on hold at the beginning of the year, a couple months into the year, and started really going for full-time work. And like a lot of other people, it has been an exhausting and very disheartening search. I've submitted hundreds of applications, and I've even tried to, do it not just through LinkedIn Easy Apply, but really go to the company website and look for the job opening and trying to find a connection or person I know who works there, all of that stuff. And I've had exactly one job interview, and after that job interview, I got ghosted. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced the same thing. Of course, while I'm doing that, I still have work from my existing clients, and I have a pet sitting side hustle, and I had a side job. So I was earning income still while I was job searching. But I've also had calls or conversations with prospective freelance clients as well. And one thing that I found that was happening every single time that I talked to a prospective client is, instead of wanting a video editor or videographer, which is what's in my core wheelhouse of skills, they were looking for 5 roles wrapped up into one. So not only was it video editing and videography and producing or writing or whatever it may be, it was also being an expert in SEO content. It was being an expert designer in Canva. It was knowing all about marketing, social media marketing, copywriting, and photography. The list goes on of everything. And usually the pay came nowhere close to reflecting what all of those skills would entail. The other thing that was happening was I was having conversations with prospective clients, and they seemed really excited about the work I did. They loved my videography, thought I was doing a great job. They've seen examples of my work. And then it came to me submitting a bid or proposal for that project, and I usually would get ghosted. And it just makes me wonder, are people really surprised what it costs to have these kinds of skills? And I think the answer is sadly yes. And the reality is someone out there is actually going to do what they want for a dirt cheap price, which basically devalues all of our jobs, all of our industries as a whole. Or the other thing that's happening is that they can go out to sites like Fiverr and Upwork because everything now can be done over the internet. Footage can be uploaded into the cloud. And so people can kind of do this work from anywhere, including very, very low cost of living countries. And there's no way you are going to compete with the rate that someone in one of those countries can do it. So it's just very, very difficult to be competitive. Now, can I blame especially a small business for wanting to save money and wanting things done as cheaply as possible? Absolutely not. I can't. I mean, I'm a small business myself, and there are times where I'm trying to get something done for as low of a price as I can possibly do it. But this is just not going to help me in my career. Even in the marketing class that I'm taking, there was a lot of discussion and examples of AI tools out there, and I'm sure you've used some of them yourself, like ChatGPT, that make things like video editing or podcast editing or writing, a lot of things done in a fraction of the time and automated now where you don't actually need a human being. Now, I will say, I've actually tried these tools myself. I tried to do a podcast just out of curiosity to edit out filler words, and it sounds terrible. However, to some businesses, it might be okay enough. It's not robust yet. However, it will be eventually. And if we don't change with the times, you're going to be left hanging. Now, there's one thing I've learned in marketing that I'm struggling with a lot right now, and that there's a lot of inauthenticity, and authenticity just happens to be one of my core values. For example, without giving too much away, let's say you're creating a thumbnail and everyone is doing a particular style of thumbnail because that's the one that gets most clicks, but it may or may not fit with the content that is being uploaded, but it's like very clickbaity. And while that may work, I think in the long run, it's a disservice to the product because it's not authentic, and audiences are sophisticated. They're eventually going to see through that. And I think the basis of good long-term marketing is building good, loyal customers and a trustworthiness, if you will. And I think a lot of the times I have struggled with creating things to market for other people that feel very, very disingenuous and don't feel good. It feels very icky when I'm creating it. All this to say, my career pretty much up until this point has been being beholden to someone else. And look, I know a lot of the times, anytime you have clients or you're full-time or whatever, there's always going to be a little element of that. But overall, I would say if you don't learn how to take control of your own situation, other people are going to be dictating how things are going to go for you. And it's a lot like Matt Damon said, if he had waited to get cast in something, he might have been waiting a really, really long time. And instead, he decided to take the opportunity to write his own script and star in his own movie, and look where he's at. Now, I'm not saying every single time is going to be a home run like that, but it's a great example of how you can learn how to create opportunities for yourself instead of waiting for other people to create them for you. So like I said, I think there's always going to be some aspects of my career where I am beholden to someone and I'm doing things that fit into their wheelhouse and that's right for them. But I do want to take a big portion of my career and start to take a little bit more control and ownership of it. This whole summer for me has been a bit of an experimental phase. I have had a YouTube channel for 13 years, but I really didn't start posting consistently until I think it was around the beginning of summer. And I've been experimenting with different types of content, how I'm filming it. Sometimes I'm on camera, sometimes I'm doing just a voiceover. I'm actually sitting here just kind of riffing off some notes I made, and this is challenging for me. Normally, I write everything out, and I like to do VO because I can correct my mistakes a lot more. So this is a little bit of a new thing for me, but I'm trying all kinds of things, just seeing what feels right and what is doable on a long-term basis. So I've been experimenting with thumbnails, I've been experimenting with titles, I've been experimenting with the genre I want to talk about. So this whole phase of summer has been an experimental phase and just really finding out what I feel comfortable talking about and also what is useful to you guys, because really nobody knows me, nobody really cares about me. And maybe this is something that happens later in time because there are definitely YouTubers I follow where, I'm very excited when they post every week and I'm really invested in their lives for some reason. I think it's just what happens. But right now in this phase of my YouTube career, if you will, I don't have a big following, and it's lucky if I get 200 views on a video. So I really want to provide content that is relatable and useful to you guys. YouTube, I think, is definitely a long-term game. I don't trust those videos out there that say you can become a huge successful YouTuber in 3 months, or any of those titles that have comma and you should too, or and you can too. Again, I think those are a little disingenuous and authentic and clickbaity, and I would say it is not the average that anybody will be successful on YouTube. It is very much a long-term game. You just need to be consistent with it. So I don't really buy all of that like quick success things. I mean, if that happens, great, that's awesome, but I wouldn't count on it being the norm. So I'm slowly trying to find my voice and my niche and getting over that inevitable imposter syndrome, like asking myself, why would anyone care what I have to say? And wondering if what I say can be used against me somehow. All I can say is it's getting a little bit easier with each video, and I actually already had my first hater early on my Aging Gracefully video. Someone had posted like, you're not aging gracefully at all, and that was really nice. So I just went ahead and ripped the Band-Aid off of having my first hater comment. So it's getting a little bit easier. I think one thing about betting on yourself is you have to go all in with the idea. I admit it's a door I've walked in and out of many, many times in my life, and I walk through the door and I look around and I see that someone is really, really successful, and I ask myself, how will I ever get there? Or I'm so behind, or I don't have the skills to do what they do, or I don't know how to market myself in the same way they do. And then I end up exiting because I get scared. And it's all just really intrusive thoughts, right? It's all generating from you like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not young enough to be on YouTube. That's a big one I've been thinking about lately, especially after getting the hater comment. And all of these intrusive thoughts that we all have, and they all are generated from within. To combat those intrusive thoughts, you really need to dive deeper into yourself and getting to know yourself better and answering some pivotal questions. Where did that thought come from? Who might have told you that once in your life? Why do you believe it? How would your life be if that weren't true? And a big one, where in your life do you have evidence that proves that theory wrong? For instance, I used to have a personal finance blog called Budget and the Beach. Don't look it up now because it's not on the internet anymore, but it was a long time ago. And when I first started, I didn't even tell my friends I had this blog. So I was on this little tiny corner of the internet, writing my heart away, putting a lot of time and thought into it with basically no viewers, no followers, no nothing. And over time, it started to grow. I started getting more comments, and then eventually I ended up sharing it with everybody. And this little blog ended up really being a huge benefit to my life. I met a lot of people through my blog in real life, and they're still friends to this day and are really great supporters. I made money from my blog. I ended up getting a full-time job because of my blog. Actually, the last full-time job I had, I never even submitted an application. It was all because of what I wrote about, which was personal finance. And I ended up writing my own job description when I got to the company after I was hired. So I really think sometimes you have to actually be in the doing process instead of the searching process to really start to gain attention on the things that you want to do in your life. So when I get nervous and I think about, is doing this YouTube thing worth it? Is maybe creating a product worth it? Whatever it may be, all I have to do is look back on the evidence that I actually have done something like that in the past and it was successful. The same thing's true with the side hustle I have, which is pet sitting. I just did it. I just started, and it was amazing how fast it took off. And there was a great sense of satisfaction that I had this autonomy that I wasn't feeling with my main career. And I could not do it if I wanted to. I could do it if I wanted to. I just felt like I had a lot of control over how this was going to work for me. So again, those are just different things that I have as evidence that I can do something and that I can be successful at something. I just have to be consistent and persistent. I think one big caveat here is talking about money. And someone might be watching me or someone might be watching someone else and think, oh yeah, well, you can experiment because you have a trust fund, a partner who supports you financially, some other kind of income, something that people who often spew these things about, just take a chance on your life, quit your job, start a business, they aren't talking about that aspect. And that is a huge, huge thing to do something like this. And the short answer is, yeah, you kind of need money on the side to experiment with your life. One thing I don't like about certain YouTube videos I see is people are not being forthright and candid about how they're actually doing something. So again, when you see something like, I quit my six-figure business to do XYZ, or I quit my six-figure business to travel around the world, you don't see the years and years it takes to maybe save money to do something like that. And you don't see that someone might have a partner who can support them financially where they don't have to worry about money or some other reason. So I just want to be 100% candid about where I am and be true to you guys so you know where I'm coming from. I happen to have a lot of money saved. So I like to say I'm asset rich, cash poor, and that is 100% true. I did save a lot of money in previous full-time jobs, and I have my money in investments. Now, I would say this, most of that I really don't want to touch. And hopefully, of course, I'll continue to do freelance projects and whatnot that I don't have to really work hard to search for, to continue to maintain a sort of even base so that I don't have to blow through my savings. I also, of course, have my side hustle, my pet sitting side hustle I can rely on, and possibly could get another part-time job. I don't know, but I just wanted to be 100% candid of where I'm coming from right now. So I don't want you to think that when I say bet on yourself means you need to quit your job or multiple jobs if you have them, but I do think there are other ways you can bet on yourself. Maybe betting on yourself right now means to you that you are just getting up every morning and you are going to your job or jobs and you are doing the very best that you can, and you trust yourself that you can do anything that you set your mind to, and you have maybe a family to feed or some other thing that is like really tough for you right now, but you know you have the strength and capacity to do it. In life, someone always has it better than you and someone always has it worse than you. But you have to learn how to fight for autonomy in your life any way you can, because you do not want your life to be in anyone else's hands. And that's what I talked about earlier, about how no one is coming to save you. That's the really harsh truth about life, is it's not fair. And hopefully the very best that you can hope for is that you have some kind of support team or mentors or cheerleaders along the way. Right now, I'm cramming as many courses as I can in Skillshare in the free month that I have, because I don't have thousands of dollars to pay for a course or a business strategy coach or anything like that. And when that time runs out, I'll have to try to find another way to continue my education, whether that's through blogs or podcasts or YouTube videos. So do I have a big announcement of any kind to share with you guys about what I'm going to be doing? Truthfully, right now, I don't. Right now, I'm just honing in on what platforms I want to use, what software I want to learn, how I can possibly monetize any of that, how I can possibly monetize this YouTube channel. Maybe it's Patreon, or, I just really don't know right now. I think it's always especially a challenge if you're what I consider a multi-hyphenate like I am. So my main skill is video editing, video production, but I'm also learning marketing. And I also have this YouTube channel where I'm talking about what niche I still don't quite know yet, but I'm kind of getting better at it, and a million other things. So I don't want to have a YouTube channel that is talking about subjects all over the place. And I don't want to have an Instagram channel which has writing, and then right now I'm posting some tap videos and some video production examples. And oh, wait, I also can create Notion templates. And so I have to kind of figure out how all of that is going to work and maybe work together somehow. Basically, there's a lot to think about and plan right now. But I'm going all in on betting on myself, and know that it's possible to create products, to create a successful YouTube channel, or whatever it is. I know I have that ability, so I'm really, really trying to focus on betting on myself. With that, I offer these suggestions on how you can bet on yourself as well. The first thing is to invest in yourself. And I don't mean to go blow thousands of dollars on a whole new look and hair and makeup and clothing and investing thousands of dollars in courses or going back to school. I think there's a way that you can do it that's within your budget. And for every person, that's going to look totally different. So do what you can to stay healthy. Do what you can to eat well, get enough sleep, drink enough water, work out, dress appropriately and dress nice for whatever your budget allows you to do. Listen to podcasts, free YouTube videos. Like, there's a million ways you can do that, but find a way to invest in yourself. The second thing is to mind your financial life. Save money however you can. A little each month will go a long way. And again, this is going to look very different for each individual, but do what you can to put enough money aside for a fuck you fund, an emergency fund, saving so you can quit your job, a vacation, whatever it is that you are really, really excited about. Or even do a side hustle and use all of that money to dedicate to something you're really excited about that you want just for yourself. And that, of course, brings me to 3, which is what I just mentioned. Try to start something on the side while you're not worrying about putting everything on this one thing to live and survive. So start a side hustle if you can, or another way to make money, or whatever your hobby is, seeing if you can monetize that on the side and see where it leads. The fourth thing is to keep track somehow, or keep a journal of the wins you have in life. And this is, again, to combat those intrusive thoughts. So whenever you're feeling down or low, go back and reference the journal, create a sort of a jar with little notes in there with all the little wins that you've had in your life, and you can just pull them out at random and see, like, oh yes, I've done this, or whatever wins you have. Find a way to record them, so when you're feeling a little bit low, you can go back and reference those and look at those and get a little boost of confidence. The fifth thing is to find whatever support system you can. So if it's a couple friends, they're your board of directors, maybe someone's an expert, maybe someone has a successful business, maybe someone has what you want to do. Find a core group of people, or cheerleaders, or people you can bounce ideas off of, mentors, a mastermind group, whatever you can to sort of like give you that support you need along your journey. And I would say the second part of that is lose the people who aren't supportive, lose the naysayers or the people who are always reminding you how maybe something didn't work out in the past, because there's always going to be those people in life who try to hold you back. And if you can avoid it and you don't need it, just try to distance yourself from those types of people. The sixth thing is to create your lifestyle guide, and this includes your core values. what are they, and how does this relate to how you operate or how you want to operate in life? And try to stick with those, because anytime you veer off from those, it just doesn't feel good. Like I said, authenticity is a huge one for me. And anytime I'm veering off that road and I start to create things for other people that just don't feel good, or just there's something about it that feels icky, I don't feel good about it. And that's not to say I won't do it. It's just to say that you can learn from those signs that are showing you and pointing you in the right direction of really the things that you're aligned with and that you want to create and put out in the world. Because yes, you're not going to always have control over the things you have to do for other people. But when it comes to your own business or your own brand, you are 100% control of that, and you get to decide what it is that you want to put out in the world. So that's just something to put together, write it down, create your own little fun style guide package about your boundaries and things that you're willing to do, things you aren't willing to do, what platforms you want to use, and what you're going to be communicating on those platforms. So it's like your own personal style guide. The last thing, number 7, I want to mention is to take calculated risks. There's a lot of people who are going to be ballsier than you, who really jump into the deep end, who will spend thousands of dollars on something, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, and they don't seem to care. If you're like me and you're not that type of person, then learn to take calculated risks. We all have fears about things, and it's important to break through a lot of fears, but you want to be careful about being reckless, I think. So this is just take my advice with a grain of salt. You may be more ambitious than me. A lot of people are. But if you're like me, just learn how to take more calculated risks. Anyway, I hope this helps you guys. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments. I have no idea how this video is going to turn out because I've never sat and just edited me talking this long, and I probably will hate it. But hey, you know what? We are trying things, so we'll see. But if this content was valuable to you, I would really, really appreciate it if you liked this video and shared it with your friends and hit that subscribe button. You guys, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really, really helps me out and gives me just a little bit of boost to keep going. And I really, really appreciate you guys staying this long and watching. And thank you so much. I will see you next time.